my button.
Really?
I beat the dog shit out of people on Peloton. It's different.
Go to the ball, Blue.
Separate! And then we'll reconvene for hour 2 and decide who won.
Really?
I love to reconvene.
Really?
I press my button.
Go to the ball, Blue.
Separate!
I've avoided the chiropractic.
Really?
I love the chiropractic.
Really?
Go to the ball, Blue!
But they know where it is.
And I won.
Really?
Cooked them.
Really?
And we are back, you flebites. It's Nasty Nate here. Staying nasty till I get name dropped on the show. Gonna just muck up the proceedings. But we'll see how that play goes. How we doing, folks? Welcome to the Fan Lebitard Show, the fastest growing Dan Lebitard Show fan YouTube channel. That's us. Cooking away, making stuff. And you know, folks, I don't know about you if you're like me. There's some things I wanted to get to, but didn't get to as quickly as I'd have liked. But did anybody else have alarm bells going off when you heard the news about Stugotz going to WFAN and then reading the articles and seeing all the stuff about how he's sniffing around there and be like, oh my gosh, could Stugotz really leave Meadowlark? I mean, I read them like sniffing around, asking for a job, saying he'd work for free. Like, oh my goodness, those alarm bells were just ring-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding, ringing around. And, you know, went on the Reddit, and I was honestly surprised to see the Reddit's response. There was a good number of people out there that were saying, like, he's been terrible for a while. He doesn't like the direction the show is going. I mean, more than I thought. Like, honestly, you'd think Stu's a beloved character. I was surprised to see as much kind of like good riddance talk about it. So I did listen to his WFAN days, and you know, he had a comment where, you know, I think it was maybe Thursday, even towards the start, where he thanked Gio for, like, you know, this is a dream come true. And right away, I'll be honest, that put me at ease, because the way he talked about it, it seemed like WFAN was just being there those 2 days was like a dream come true for him. And then, you know, he proceeded to make his typical jokes of, I need a job by the end of the week, COB, buddy, I'll bring in $5 million, all those other sounds you heard on the show. And even interesting enough, there was a really interesting sound where, you know, Dan reacted to that $5 million thing, like, where is it, Stugotz? And Stugotz reacted to that on WFAN. And there's actually a moment of, like, kind of pretty, if you're a fan of the show, kind of neat, like, inside look of Stu saying, like, yeah, I actually kind of don't like it when Dan does that, because he knows when he kind of belittles me in that, he knows what I've actually done for, like, this company. And he claims he brought in as a salesperson a couple mil for Meadowlark. So a little interesting inside thing. And then what really kind of sealed the deal for me to not be nervous about Stugotz leaving was when they were talking about Dalvin Cook and saying, like, he doesn't want to go to New York. He wants to go to Miami because that no sales tax. You think Stugotz is going to leave Miami for New York, pay all those taxes? I mean, I hear you. Some of you are like, he doesn't pay taxes anyway, right? Running joke on the show. He's still not going to pay taxes in New York. That's just a joke, guys. But, I mean, he's got it made in Miami. But, twist, Monday, he comes back. And what does Dan do? He sends the alarm bells ringing off again by basically asking fans, like, hey, let's make this happen. Let's get Stugotz a job at WFAN. Like, you know, kind of petitioning the crowd to break up the show in which they support, which I thought was a very weird request to mobilize the fan base. Hey, fan base, let's mobilize this to get Stugotz, like, a job at WFAN and, you know, kind of end our illustrious radio broadcast career. I wonder if ever when Dan comes back, if they'll ever touch on that there. Because I get the sense that Stugotz isn't going to go anywhere. Again, that this was a dream come true for him. And if you listen to the other fan podcast, their 500th episode, Lauer After Hours, was Stugotz. Stu talked a lot about how they're trying to prepare the guys to take over. That Meadowlark is something that they want them to take over. He talked about kind of trying to grow Billy Gill into the next Stugotz role. So I think there is down the line, obviously, with Meadowlark, if that company is going to continue, Dan's voiced it as well, that he wants to be spending time with his wife and traveling, but he's running this company. I do think there is a future where these guys go and ride off into the sunset. But is it now? Why does Dan have to worry about this? But then I realized I've been thinking about this the wrong way. Stugotz has surpassed John Wiener, the man.
Really?
The man John Wiener can leave.
Really?
But Stugotz, the idea, is forever. That bold and brave man who's never received the credit due to him for recognizing what Dan could be on the air.
Really?
The mind who had the foresight to fire Allison and immediately rehire her. The man who's secretly preparing Billy Gill for anything that could come his way and has done far enough. He can go if that's what his heart desires. If John goes, Stugotz will live on. And we're seeing it this week. The future of Meadowlark, Pablo, Amin, DomONique, they're waiting in the wings, ready to take over whatever Meadowlark will become. I've heard that when Dan and Stu first devised of the character, Stugotz, their calculations showed that there was a near zero chance that the character would start a chain reaction that would ignite the sports take world and ultimately destroy it.
Taking his shirt off, doing
I
something
believe
like
they
that.
did. And yes, I did Barbenheimer yesterday. But we're all Stugotz now. And the sports take world will never be the same. So go on, Stugotz.
The mic is right.
All you little Stugotzes, take your takes. Victor Wembanyama is a bust, but also get all your rings in before he gets going. Because he's going to get them all. But he's also a bust. So if WFAN calls calling at COB and John rides off into that hazy orange New York sunset, Stu will forever live on in my personal record book.
Taking his shirt off, doing stuff like that.
So go on. If you want to go, John, get! Just get, John! Go, get!
Stella or tow it.
Kevin Durant's really good. He does have 2 rings. Go, get! Get! Chris Paul's... He's a top 5 point guard in the league of all time. Go, get! Get, John! Just go! If you need to, that's what you want. Just go, John!
Taking his shirt off, doing stuff like
Stugotz
that.
will live on. He'll live on in Billy Gill. Stugotz will live on in DomONique. Stugotz is forever. So, ladies and gentlemen, I got my hernia surgery going up. Hopefully, it'll be easier for me to do my thing on the potty, all that, because it's uncomfortable right now. You imagine trying to sit down and feel your intestines coming out of you when you do that, or when you try to fart or laugh. It's uncomfortable. But I'm getting that hernia surgery in hopefully a couple days. Cross my fingers if I don't get sick. I got sick kids at home. Geez. Do not want this surgery to be rescheduled. But anyway, whenever I get that time off, folks, I am going on DomONique FoxWATCH. I am on watch. Did you guys catch back when Dom started becoming a regular thing on the show? He's been regular over the summer. It's a lot of appearances for someone from ESPN. And I believe there was one, he came the first day he stayed the next day, or it might have been the first day. They made a joke about tampering. For me, I was like, oh, did anybody else catch that? If you did, leave a 5-star review and let us know. I caught the tampering reference too. I was like, making a tampering joke. Are they trying to get DomONique? And I know back when he first came, like he revealed, why he didn't come to Meadowlark. But I think, I'll tell you what, Dom, you can come to Meadowlark and you can fire any one person you want, anybody. Just pick anybody you want. You can fire them. That's okay. And then just come on over. More than welcome. I love DomONique FoxWATCH. In the vein of like when Dan and Stu hang it up, whatever Meadowlark becomes, I think DomONique FoxWATCH is the perfect transition to Stugotz 2.0. A hybrid who's stronger than the first, whose takes are hotter, whose takes are smarter, whose takes are better, who knows sports, who probably still watches sports, who coaches their kids sports. Because Stugotz, he doesn't coach his kids sports anymore. The word on the street is he doesn't watch sports either. He's asking, what do I got to prep? Oh, man, DomONique Stugotz 2.0, Pablo, Dan 2.0. What we're seeing this week, Pablo, DomONique, Amin. You got to think if they get all those people, like someone like Mina's coming over. If that happens, look out. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're like me, you're probably super excited that Pablo, www.pablo.show. We finally know more about it. Pablo finds out. I love the little video that they made. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And just know, like, Pablo finds out. You can now follow that on Instagram, on Twitter, on all the social medias, on YouTube. I love the production that went into the Pablo finds out. Love the artistic design of it. Kind of like this neon glow vibe going, and kind of retro a little bit, and old school. There's like an old school kind of vibe and whatnot. I think it's the perfect name, better than if Pablo got Here's the Thing, because Pablo finds out allows him to just still use his, as he finds out, as he goes out into the world and messes around and finds out, he can still tell you, and here's the thing, guys, this is what I found out, right? He can still get his signature catchphrase in there. But personally, I love the Pablo Finds Out title even better because of the vibe that it adds, the fun vibe. And I can tell I am so excited for this show. And honestly, even though what the Dan Le Batard show has gone through with the passing of Lebo, Dan's brother, and the challenge that has been for Dan dealing with such a tragic loss, and for others on the show too who obviously knew him, like, what fans are seeing now is, I've always thought like there'll come a day when the Dan Le Batard show goes away, and I won't have that sports radio show that I listen to anymore. But honestly, if what we're seeing this week is what the future is, man, sign me up. A Pablo, DomONique, Amin show. You got to think if they get all of them, I think I already mentioned this, Mina coming back into the mix, get the gang back together, maybe somehow keep Greg Cote alive, putting him in an animatronic thing with just his catchphrases on Tuesdays only. Could work, right? Just very excited for where the show is. Oddball, if you guys watch that. Honestly, being fully honest here, I was a little down on Oddball at the start. I thought it got off to a rough start. I'm going to be honest here. I was not vibing with Amin pooping, the way he pooped on the show so much of like, I don't like the name. I just didn't find like, okay, maybe you're being honest and you just want that out there. I thought he did it a little bit too much. I didn't find it funny for him to be like actively campaigning. And at the start of the show, I didn't find their bits to be funny. Like I just, Bold and Spicy didn't make any sense. And, for me in order to find that funny, it's got to make sense. Like what's the angle here? Like it can't just be this nonsense kind of like back and forth. And bet the show when it first started, like, I mean, I thought that was intriguing because it could still obviously bet the show. The consequences could be funny, but then the consequences basically became meaningless in a way too. So they launched with 2 bits for me that didn't really land, of being a little confusing. But as the show continued, as I stuck with it, it's really hitting a groove now where, one, I don't listen to it as a podcast. I always watch Oddball as a visual medium. I think it plays a lot better that way to see that. And I love the headlines thing. It now feels to me like a true sports comedy show that has like sports comedy and then like serious sports stuff in there with interviews, or if Amin is doing kind of like his voiceover stuff and talking about some of his expertise and experience. I've really been enjoying the rhythm that the show has found. I think the new games like hype me up. Like that's a lot more fun. I understand it. It's humorous. I think even Bold and Spicy got better and made more sense. Cause when they first started it, both of Charlotte and Amin were kind of like, I don't get this. And it seemed like they weren't like, it wasn't funny to have 2 hosts kind of bad mouthing on the bit they were playing. Like that can only get you so far. Right. But then there was one where they brought back Bold and Spicy. And then it was like, oh, they were kind of like, giving takes that were ridiculous, which is what I kind of more expected. So really love where that show has gotten to. So, I mean, you have Oddball, you have Pablo, you have the Dan Le Batard show, all their other podcasts. And I'm on watch. FoxWATCH. I think he's coming, folks. Who knows when? But I think we'll get him eventually. Well, time for one last quick little hit. And we're talking about the Cotes, ladies and gentlemen. Chwis Cote and Greg Petty. Noticed Chris has had a little slip up this week. And I'm wondering, is he faking it? Is he stressed in the seat of the EP and it's bringing up, was Chris Cote someone who had a speech impediment growing up and couldn't say his R's? Because guess what, folks, that was me as a little kid. I got Christmas videos of me at Christmas getting a gift and being, Mom, Dad, look what I got a Sonic Flasher, and go, oh Christmas tree, and running, oh Mom, Dad, my car shoots water, but Chris, my brother, his car shoots rockets. Me talking like that. But got speech therapy, got over it. Makes me wonder, is Chris Cote nervous sometimes when he's in the EP sheet? See there, but then there I go. I'm not nervous right now. I'm just talking too much, right? And I slipped up. I said in the EP seat. So there, I think it kind of just answered it. He's just slipping up, and maybe it's been coincidentally he's slipping up multiple times, or is he doing it on purpose? He made that comment that I'm the Michael Jordan of saying things. And when he said it, it was like, obviously Stugotz didn't say it had the patriotism thing, which Stugotz is honestly the Michael Jordan of saying things incorrectly. But when Chris said that, I was like, is he though? I mean, but now he's kept that going. And I'm wondering if he sits there and he thinks about, where's my one mispronunciation each show? And he's trying to work it in as a recurring bit. I enjoy Chris Cote as an EP though. I think obviously his mentality of bringing fun lightens up every episode he's a part of. The way he runs it definitely keeps people loose. And that's what a lot of fans like, someone to break up. If the show's being too heavy on sports, you need somebody to break that up. I enjoy it. And honestly, like the show with like this whole new executive producer, right? They never really announced Chris Whittingham as the executive producer taking over for Mike Ryan, but that's what he was. And now it seems like they're going with this rotating thing. It's very curious to me for like such a large show. Like, is this, have they decided that the rotating thing, will they eventually settle and pick on one? Why does it take so long? I don't know. But I do, right now I am enjoying the rotating EP because it does give a different vibe to each show each day. But talking about a new vibe, we learned out today, folks, that Greg Cote, he can be a little petty. Not going to that Zach Thomas. I mean, got to be honest, that was a bad look for Greg. And if you're a Greg Cote show with Greg Cote listener, you kind of got to see the progression of him having self-realization of how bad that look was to the way he talked about it. He was more open and honest on the Greg Cote show of being like, yeah, like I didn't go because he stiffed me on a podcast appearance. It felt like he was a little bit more open and honest of saying that was the reason, and Chris gave him a hard time there on the show, and it felt like he kind of had some realization and regret that that's what he did by the time he got to the show. He was a little bit hesitant to 100% definitively say that's why he didn't end up going, and he leaned more into that, oh, I was saving money. Like on the Greg Cote show, it felt like, yeah, this is why I didn't win, and this was a bonus. It felt like he tried to flip that on the Le Batard show of saying like, well, no, the real reason, it wasn't that I was petty, like I was doing a favor for that, where when he first brought it up, like it felt the other way around, and that's, geez, like missing out on an opportunity like that, where again, Chris pointed out to him, you could have got content there, right? You could have got the content there. But an excellent Greg Cote week, because of course he once again delivers on sound. We get even, seeing that insight to who Greg is something, personally, me as a fan, I enjoy. And think there's a little growth for Greg this week, right? I think you may think a little bit more about that later on. It'd be interesting if and when Zach Thomas ever does come on the pod, how they tackle that. But brain freeze here. I'm having a mean. Yeah, Greg Cote, he provided us some incredible sound of I pushed my button or something like that. I made it Southern. I don't know why I made it Southern. But which leaves me to one final announcement, folks. You all know that I created a way to subscribe to the Fan Le Batard Show podcast. I work hard at this, folks. Ty's still suspended, right? Brian, he's got voice acting gigs, guys. But I grind. I'm here trying to create content, sometimes good, sometimes not. I don't know how great some of this was. Probably went on and talked a little bit too much, but I created the subscriber stuff because I put a lot of work into this podcast. I love doing it and just trying to make a little bit extra cashish out of it, other than just the one Spotify ad that I can drop in to the show. And technically, I haven't even made any cash at all because Ty set this whole thing up. It's still all set up with him, and we're in a stalemate, folks. In a stalemate about getting that stripe fixed over. He's like, unsuspend me. I'm like, no, bro. You can't take back those digits you put out there, right? I can't believe you did that. I'm sorry, dog. And he's like, well, I don't know about the stripe, homie. I'm like, okay. We'll see who wins there. And by the way, Brian and Ty still have a punishment from our grid of moss, mutually assured shame. They're supposed to dress up like Backstreet Boys. If those guys are ever going to do that. But anyway, I started a subscriber thing because I wanted to, provide a way for me to have a opportunity to get a little bit extra money for people who really enjoy what we do here. And I was honestly, when I did it, I was on the fence, because this is what I love about this podcast is the fact that I get to talk to people about the show. And honestly, I love finding the people that are behind the scenes and giving fans the opportunity to learn more about the Le Batard show that's out there. And honestly, creating a subscriber way for that, it doesn't feel great. Because what I love doing and love seeing this podcast as is something that extends what the Le Batard Show does and give fans insight to what the Le Batard Show is. And even though, yes, a less than a full price candy bar a month, that's not a lot, right, for a subscription. That's why I set it to the lowest thing, because I didn't want to make it something that was, I wanted it to be literally the cheapest possible option. But with thought, over the summer, I started remixing, making clubs. If you follow me on social medias, each week over the summer, I did a club. Secret, this is just for the fan Le Batard audience and any of our subscribers. Once I get my hernia surgery, I am going to knock out one more club and make a best of summer club. That's a little secret right there. Freebie. But I'm canceling the subscription stuff, guys, because here's the deal. I love creating the stuff that I create around the show. It's a lot of fun for me, and I don't want to put that behind a paywall. I want to share that with other fans, see if they like and enjoy it too. So the subscriber walls that were up for so short are coming down. And with that, folks, I previewed this. Let's Get Dangerous. It's my favorite remix that I've created so far. There is another one that, again, once I get that hernia surgery, folks, and I get a couple days off, I'm also going to hopefully grind. And there's another one that I think has the potential to be even better than what you're about to hear. Get Dangerous. That involves a lot of sounds. And I can tell you, spoiler alert, it's going to involve a mean sound from this week as well. So without further ado, the subscriber wall has come down, and I've reinstated support this podcast option. So you don't have to subscribe to get this. Everything's coming at you for free. And hey, if you like it, if you appreciate what you do, help a guy out. Throw in $1, right? Donate whatever you can if you want to support this podcast and help us continue to bring you insight into the Le Batard Show and help us continue to expand on what the Le Batard Show does. That's why I do God Bless Highlight, folks, because I see that as they talk highlight and I do the highlight because I feel like we're extending what the show does by talking with the players, kind of spoofing on God Bless Football, doing God Bless Highlight. So without further ado, this is the end of the podcast, and here is Let's Get Dangerous.
Chris Cote does an impression. Just be careful.
Dangerous game here.
Just be careful.
I think you could do it, Chris, because you did a great Charles Barkley.
Dangerous game here.
You're 1 for 1 there.
Just be careful.
Dangerous game here.
Be careful, man.
We cannot do this.
Just be careful.
Dangerous game here.
You don't see the bad in that?
Mose and Moody Mose.
Don't. You need that. It sounds worse.
Moody Mose.
Don't.
Mose and Moody.
It sounds worse.
Mose and Moody Mose.
Rachel.
Moses.
Rachel.
Mose and Moody Mose.
It sounds worse.
Rachel. Mose and Moody Mose. Carry the hell on, Dan. Mose and Moody Mose.
Rachel. There it was.
It's too close to the line. This is where the line is. Dan, the line is where we feel alive, though. Did no one just hear the segment we just did with the meme? We cannot be taking
judgment is not the best.
counsel from the local drunk.
I know how to say and you know it in Mandarin, I'll tell you that.
I think in 2021 I can get away with my Michael Irvin radio show impression.
We cannot do this.
Just be careful.
Dangerous game here.
You don't see the bad in that?
Moody Mose.
You need that. It sounds worse. Kev.
Mose and Moody.
Hello.
It sounds worse.
Mose and Moody Mose.
Rachel.
Moses.
Don't.
Mose and Moody Mose.
That's still okay.
Rachel. Hello. Hurry the hell on, Dan.
I know how to say "and you know it" in Mandarin. I'll tell you that.
Don't do that.
No, please.
We cannot do this.
Yeah, my wife is Chinese. She'll fly over here and kill you.
You know what? I would not disparage her.
Just be careful.
Dan, the line is where we feel alive, though.
And you know it.
You know what? I would not disparage her. I think you would. In fact, if I say it, will you ask her if I'm saying it correctly?
I love Stouffer Stovetop Pussy.
Hello. Moses Moody. Moody Moses. Pop, pop, pop.
Stovetop Pussy.
What are we stuffing?
Stouffer Stovetop Pussy.
I think that's still okay.
Hello.
Stovetop Pussy.
What are we stuffing?
Moses Moody. Moses.
It sounds worse.
Rachel.
Stouffer Stovetop Pussy.
Pop, pop, pop. Hurry the hell on, Dan.
Rachel.
Moses Moody. Moody Moses.
Stugotz, you should probably apologize here. We should apologize for what happened last segment. It went off the rails on us. What do you want to say? Do you want to say anything, or do you want to gather yourself and say it later, or what do you want to do?
I need to apologize. They are my weekend observations. I said what I said.
Just be careful.
I had no idea, and I apologize to Jonathan Coachman, who has tweeted at us, and he's upset, and has every right to be upset.
Dangerous game here.
I honestly, and anyone who knows me will understand this and believe this.
We cannot do this. Dan, the line is where we feel alive, though.
I honestly, until after the segment ended and we went to commercial break, had no idea that Jonathan Coachman was black.
And you know it. Moses.
It sounds worse.
Stovetop Pussy.
What are we stuffing?
I don't understand. Moses.
It sounds worse.
Stovetop Pussy.
What are we stuffing?
Oh, my Lord.
Rachel.
Moses Moody. Moody Moses. Hello.
I honestly, and anyone who knows me will understand this and believe this.
Rachel.
Had no idea that Jonathan Coachman was black.
My God! 7 in front of the hour.